Welcome back to The Explainer. So today, we're unpacking a pretty profound philosophical divide. Have you ever wondered why the single word, God, gets so fundamentally misunderstood? Well, it's mostly because we use it to describe two radically different, almost completely unrelated concepts. And whether you're coming at this from theology, psychology, or philosophy, wrapping your head around this split is absolutely crucial.
To make sense of this, here's our roadmap. We're going to hit 5 key areas. First, the two poles of God. Then, the cosmic parent. Third, the ground of being. Fourth, when explanation falls silent. And finally, does the word survive?
All right, section 1, the two poles of God. Let's just jump right in and set up the core dialectic here between two opposing definitions that, honestly, rarely even speak the same language. Think about it like this. On the left side, we have what our sources call the pagan God. This is your imagined parent or inner advocate, the kind of interventionist deity you might secretly hope is arranging a good parking spot for you or meddling in your career decisions. But then, over on the right, you have this completely stripped-down concept, God merely as the impersonal cause of life's phenomena, strictly focused on aliveness. As we're going to see, these two poles have almost nothing to do with each other. Moving into section 2, the cosmic parent. Let's put that left pole under the microscope, a view that's been heavily scrutinized by some of history's greatest psychoanalysts.
Looking at these historical critiques, we've got some heavy hitters breaking down this interventionist God. Right at the top, philosopher Ludwig Feuerbach argued that religion is basically just anthropology in disguise. It's humanity projecting its own wishes onto the sky. Beneath that, Sigmund Freud totally dismantled the idea, calling it a cosmic father figure invented just to comfort our own sense of helplessness. But check out the third row. Psychoanalyst D.W. Winnicott actually offers a really nuanced take. He suggests this imagined cosmic friend acts as a transitional object, kind of like a child security blanket, right? It's a necessary developmental scaffolding for the psyche, not just pure pathology.
Ultimately, what these critiques are pointing to is that this parent God functions way less like a genuine encounter with reality and way more like an internalized authority figure wearing a divine costume. It's basically the ego's very first transactional attempt to relate to something larger than itself. It's made in our image, and it's entirely transactional.
Which brings us to section 3, the ground of being. Let's completely flip the script and look at the second pole, which strips away all the personality, the preferences, and the divine intervention.
The crucial point here is that philosophers like Baruch Spinoza defined God not as a being who acts on life from the outside, but literally as nature itself. His famous phrase, Dea sive natura, God or nature, argues that God is simply nature's self-organizing necessity. So definitely no guy with a white beard in the sky making decisions here.
And similarly, you have the theologian Paul Tillich, who described God as the ground of being. Now, this is a massive perspective shift. It means God isn't a someone at all. God is not a being among other beings that you can sit down and negotiate with. Rather, God is being itself. It's the very fabric out of which all appearing and all aliveness actually happens.
And this tradition, it stretches way back. Aristotle called it the unmoved mover. Non-dual spiritual traditions view it as the source of experience from the inside, not a force pushing on us from the outside. But here's the real kicker. This definition is completely invulnerable to Freud's projection critique. Why? Because it shed everything personal. There's no human face projected onto the sky for Freud to tear down.
Okay, section 4, when explanation falls silent. This is where the tension gets really fascinating, and it's definitely worth sitting with. Because if God simply is the impersonal cause of phenomena, the obvious question is, why not just use words like nature, reality, or what is? Why even hold on to the word God? Well, the honest answer from the contemplative side is that the word isn't doing explanatory work at all. It's not a scientific hypothesis about the universe. Instead, it's doing devotional or orientational work. It marks a profound relationship of awe, surrender, and intimacy toward reality.
Look at the real divide here, God as an explanation versus God as reality. On the left side, the pagan God tries to explain physical events. Like what causes thunder? But science is steadily evicting that God from its job. On the right side, the ground of being explains absolutely nothing mechanically. It is just the name for what you literally cannot stand outside of. It survives science effortlessly because it was never making a scientific claim in the first place.
I love this quote from contemplative thinker Richard Rohr, Christ as another name for everything. It just brilliantly captures this non-dual realization. In this framework, the divine isn't a specific entity playing hide-and-seek behind the clouds. It's a profoundly inclusive recognition of the entirety of existence.
And that leads us to our final part, Section 5, Does the Word Survive? As we wrap up this explainer, we really have to look at the uncomfortable void left behind when these two ideas collide. If we accept the critiques of Feuerbach and Freud and we actually abandon that imagined parent in the sky, we're faced with a really tough question. Can this philosophical, non-dual concept of God, this pure ground of being, actually survive once it's completely stripped of the warmth and comfort of a cosmic protector?
It's a massive psychological dilemma, right? Is it even possible for the human mind to deeply relate to pray to, or to love a purely impersonal cause of phenomena? Once you remove the face, the personality, and the interventions, does human devotion still have anywhere to land?
Or maybe we need to flip it around. Is that need itself the very thing we ought to be examining? Perhaps the desire for a transactional, comforting parent figure handling our daily affairs is exactly what we need to investigate within our own evolving consciousness. Maybe letting go of that security blanket is the true mark of spiritual maturity.
So I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought to chew on today. As our collective understanding of reality matures, and we recognize the vast difference between an imagined cosmic parent and the profound ground of being, does the word God still earn its keep? Or does it simply carry way too much parent-in-the-sky baggage for us to use it moving forward? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep questioning the frameworks that shape our reality.